Imagine being able to add 10 extra years to your life by doing one simple task a day. No, I'm not talking about 100 burpees or walking 10,000 steps around the block. Neither am I referring to taking AG1 every morning. I'm simply talking about the task that most people might find boring. Yes, it's reading. Now wait, before you move on. If you're someone who thinks you hate reading, welcome to my life 5 years ago. Let's talk about what changed and how you can benefit from books, just like I did. Imagine a life with pure joy, choices, and a general state of happiness and fulfillment. Sound like a dream? It's not. It's absolutely possible. The simple answer is self-education and the drive to get better and dig yourself out of a hole. There's a clear path to live a great life that you stopped believing in, thus you gave up and surrendered to your current state. You must follow a path of curiosity, questioning your own status quo, become conscious, and practice mindfulness. Awesome buzzwords, right? And you've heard them a million times before. But what's all that mean and how do you apply all that to your current life? Disclaimer, there's no shortcut, no quick life hack, no pill, no juice or an exact recipe that you can follow to reach that state of happiness that you're seeking. Very simple in a nutshell, it all comes down to becoming aware of the problem, whatever it may be for you, setting a clear and realistic goal with mini targets along the way, and strategize a path to achieve it. It's hard to imagine that the ancient Egyptians, who were the first ones who came up with handwritten scrolls made from papyrus plant, could have possibly imagined that the book industry would become a $28 billion industry. Mind-blowing. Not to mention that books have become digitalized and you can even listen to books while driving and on the way to work. Absolutely insane. Ancient Egyptians used them to write stories, record history and philosophies. So what does all that have to do with you and why you clicked on this video? You want change. You're tired of yourself. What did your morning today look like? Maybe you're among the average American who's stuck in traffic for 27 minutes on the way to work to then spend 8 hours in front of a screen in silent desperation and internally yelling, "Get me out of here now." If you're the average American, and that's about 60% overall, which totals 200 million people in this country, you have less than $1,000 in savings. That's not even enough to cover an emergency. And how often do you spend money on things that do not help you grow or to get out of your misery? You scroll through social media in an unconscious, hopeless manner and don't even realize how your time on earth is ticking away and how you spend 40% of your time looking at a screen. We're often in a constant state of distraction and don't even realize how social media, with its reinforcing nature, hits our reward center and releases dopamine, the feeling-good chemical that will keep you in that hamster wheel because you're craving it over and over and over again. On top of all that, you're rarely finding time to simply exist in silence and calmness. Let me tell you something, you aren't meant to mindlessly work all day and finally go on a 10-day vacation once a year to end up getting sick because your body's finally resting. You weren't born to do something you hate and numb your mind with infinite scrolling through the web until your fingers bleed and you wake up one day wondering why life turned out the way it did. Guess what? I was that guy. In the system that I grew up under, I was only made aware of one specific career path. Go to college, get an education with a degree that would increase my earning potential later on to then work for someone else 40, 50, 60 hours a week, find a partner, buy a house, have a family, and retire with a decent pension 40 years down the line. That's it. I was definitely aware of my misery and internal cry for help, but for some reason I accepted that state of mind. I knew there were creators, entrepreneurs, and people who seemed to have figured it all out and generally seemed content with their lives, but I never registered it as a realistic possibility for myself. I literally thought that that kind of life is only reserved for the brightest, smartest, and people with money. Very simple. My mind couldn't fathom doing a similar path because all I knew was the path that I was introduced to as a child. I got to a point in my life of reoccurring anxiety attacks coupled with being in an extreme state of hypochondria, questioning everything, and found myself in a state of mind that was not sustainable anymore. To the outside world, everything seemed great. I had a career, I had a wife, a house, but the inside was eating me alive. Eventually, the potential of turning my life around made itself apparent to me. I remember vividly, as it was yesterday, my first ever book after college that I came across was from Joe Dispenza with the title Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. The title alone made me question everything. How can I change myself? I asked all the time. The problem was still that I hated reading. I couldn't see myself sitting there hour after hour and simply read word for word. So how did I get into it? How did I become a bookworm? I was so fed up with being myself that I forced myself to just read one page at a time. It probably took me one entire month to read that book, but it changed my entire trajectory. Since I did not have a purpose or a greater vision for myself, my body gave me signals that he had enough of constantly thinking negative. That was the exact thing that drove me to try something entirely new. I almost didn't have a choice. I've always wondered how people like Bill Gates, for instance, read a book a day. This might be an extreme case and you don't have time for that, but I started asking myself the question, what is it about books that people enjoy? Why can't I enjoy it? I love this quote. In the case of good books, the point is not to see how many of them you can get through, but rather how many can get through to you. Let that sink in for a moment. It's not about reading, it's about resonating with what you're reading. Us humans were meant to expand, evolve, create, and transcend. Books are a fantastic way to dive into a new subject, educate yourself on things that you currently struggle with and aren't taught in school or in the media. Generally speaking, the main problem is that people never change. They identify with their beliefs, jobs, environments, self-created identities, and they end up becoming static. They stop learning and they don't develop any additional skills and simply surrender to the status quo. They're accepting what is. Have you ever felt that before? I know I have. The only way out is stepping out of your comfort zone. And I'm not referring to parachute out of an airplane, although that's helpful if you have a fear of heights. It could be as simple as, I hate reading, I need to read. Ask yourself why. Go grab one of the books I'm going to talk about in a minute, go to Starbucks, turn off your phone, and start by reading the intro. By improving your skill set and gaining knowledge, it simply expands your consciousness and will make you aware of what is actually possible. Hence, I call it the transformation of self. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're stepping out of your old self. There are a ton of benefits reading a book, such as it enhances your creativity, it lowers your stress, and it can improve your language skills. But that's not what I needed. This might have been the byproduct of having read over 100 books since 2019, but what really fueled me was gaining knowledge from people that have mastered that topic I was interested in. I started consuming books on a daily basis on subjects like mental health, fitness, money, relationships, emotional regulation, anxiety, and many more topics, and learned to accept my path through reading and slowly dug myself out of the hole that I created. Don't read a book just to finish it. Grab a pen, set out a specific time in your day, even if it's just 10 minutes. And simply read and make notes. You will realize that a lot of things will speak to you. One of the most profound benefits reading a book, and by the way, you can literally find a book on every single topic there is, and the power is to learn about people, places, concepts, philosophies, strategies, and it broadens your perspective on life and changes your worldview. More importantly though, it will change you in the process. It's like in the movie The Matrix when Morpheus introduces Neo to the Matrix. He's saying, it is the word that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. This is your last chance. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You take the red pill, and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. In our case, the blue pill is stay as you are, don't pick up a book, don't educate. However, if you do want to change, grab that book and start reading. Books will provide you with a way out. It's your Bible, your guide. It's a path to a better and more fulfilling life. There's a book on just about every subject there is. Reading will help you become a lifelong learner. This is a lifelong story, and it will never stop. When you think about life in pillars, there are 6 pillars: the mind, the body, spirit, relationships, finances, and impact. While the pillars can be shifted and combined, they're all serving the same purpose: to help you stay healthy and live a more empowered and independent life. More importantly though, something profound I came across was, and I take inventory every now and then whether I keep following this approach, is that having too much or too little of one of those pillars can throw you off balance. What I mean by that is, if you solely focus on getting wealthy and you neglect everything else in life, there are consequences that you will feel, for instance, in your relationship or in your health. So my approach is to have a healthy balance of all pillars in life. That's not to say that sometimes life is out of balance, and that's okay, but you don't want to prolong that state for too long. A good analogy is take 6 glasses of water, for example. You don't want one glass overflowing nor an empty glass. Ideally, you want all 6 glasses with an equal amount of water, which represents your life equilibrium. It's a work in progress, and that's why I said you will need to take inventory every now and then and analyze where you're at. Again, it will be a lifelong pursuit, and it's crucial to know that this pillar system can be used as a guide. Don't try to perfect it, but work on it with an open mind and thrive for change. There are thousands of books out there on the same subject, and the ones I read are not the only ones, obviously, nor the best, but they had a huge impact on the way I live my life now. I've picked one of my top 5 books that I read at the very beginning of my journey that I'm about to talk about. Number 1, Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He explains that the unhappiness is the result of bad habits that make up your personality. It starts off very technical, where he talks about brain waves and the science around happiness, but you will find this book extremely helpful in your personal growth journey. He will teach how to unlearn your habits and how to create new ones. Book number 2, Unf Yourself by Gary John Bishop. It is less scientific, but equally as adventurous, since Gary reveals practical tips on how to own your life and live more meaningfully by getting out of your head and accepting failure, uncomfortable situations, and change. In my opinion, it's very well written, that resonated with me at the time. He's using simple, practical words so everybody can understand it. Book number 3, Never Finished by David Goggins. Wow, what can I say? It's one of my favorites of all time. David is my hero. Never Finished is an inspired memoir that chronicles his journey from an abused child to becoming a Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, and motivational speaker. David is super real. He's authentic. He does not shy away from speaking with heart and passion. Absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend it. Book number 4, The Money Master Game by Tony Robbins. Tony empowers you by helping you define and understand your personal finance and needs. You will look at money differently after reading this one, I can promise you that. Book number 5, The Book of Joy by Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Both of them outline 8 core values in this book that offer a pathway to a more joyful life. These core values are perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. I really enjoyed this book, and I hope you will as well. From my own experience, as mentioned earlier, the power of reading cannot be overstated. So next time, before you want to binge watch your favorite Netflix show, grab a book on how to get out of debt if you're experiencing financial hardships, or read The Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama. I've seen it firsthand how books have the ability to change the trajectory of your life forever. You will look back wondering, how on earth did I live all those years not reading a single page? What I leave you with today is, if you haven't gotten the results you have been waiting for and wanting, that's because you aren't the person yet that would get those results. Let that sink in for a moment. So dare to step out of your comfort zone and embrace change. Go grab that book. It will change your life. Take care, you're Christian.